A man with silence in his soul and storms in his eyes is not one to be underestimated. Ascenders. What happens when someone crosses the line with a man who doesn't follow the crowd? A man who doesn't seek validation, doesn't chase, and doesn't play the games of the social hierarchy. A Sigma male's loyalty is a rare currency, not easily given, but absolute when committed. But what happens when that loyalty is burned? This isn't just about hurt feelings. This is about the transformation of a mind that was already built for solitude, strategy, and self-reliance. When a loyal Sigma gets hurt, something shifts, not outwardly, but internally. He doesn't lash out. He doesn't start drama. He begins a quiet and calculated process of becoming untouchable. In this video, we'll uncover 10 deep psychological shifts that happen when you betray a loyal Sigma male. And I'm not giving you cliches. These are insights rooted in real psychology, human behavior, and the unspoken codes of lone wolf mentality. Ascenders. If you're here to go deeper, to see what lies beneath the surface of Sigma strength, subscribe. We don't just survive out here, we ascend. 1. The silent exodus. Disappearing without announcement. When you betray a Sigma male, don't expect a dramatic exit. He won't scream, send emotional paragraphs, or ask for explanations. He will simply vanish. But that silence? It's not weakness. It's strategy. Disappearing without notice is the first act of reclaiming control. The Sigma male doesn't see value in trying to fix something broken by betrayal. To him, energy is currency, and he refuses to spend it where trust has been violated. Psychologically, this behavior is tied to what's known as emotional cutoff, a defense mechanism used by highly independent personalities to avoid further emotional damage. But the Sigma male takes it a step further. His disappearance isn't just avoidance, it's a reset. He doesn't ghost out of immaturity. He exits to protect his system from any further corruption. His loyalty was a shield, and once it's compromised, he retracts it and removes himself from the battlefield completely. You won't get closure. You won't get access. He's already moved into the next phase, healing through elevation. In his silence, he reclaims power. While others argue and plead, the Sigma upgrades. The people who hurt him may not even realize how permanently they've been deleted until it's far too late. That's the beauty and brutality of the silent exodus. 2. Identity recalibration. Rebuilding from the inside out. The moment a Sigma male is betrayed, he doesn't just walk away from the person, he walks toward a new version of himself. This is not just a reaction. It's a recalibration. He begins to question everything. How did this happen? What did I allow? What weaknesses in my judgment were exposed? Unlike others who drown in self-pity, the Sigma starts engineering his comeback. He audits his past behavior, not to blame himself, but to sharpen his internal compass. This process is deeply introspective. He may start journaling, reading more deeply into human psychology, revisiting his routines, upgrading his boundaries, all in silence. This phase is also about reprogramming. Betrayal forces the Sigma to rewrite the source code of how he relates to people. He identifies emotional vulnerabilities and patches them with stoic logic. He builds firewalls where there used to be open doors. What once was accessible now requires authentication. This shift often leads to visible transformation. People will notice he walks differently, talks with more precision, and no longer entertains shallow conversations. He becomes leaner, not just physically, but mentally. Every move is deliberate. You'll never see this version coming if you knew the older one. The betrayal didn't just wound him, it activated an upgrade protocol. And the new identity? It's not built for you. It's built to prevent another version of you from ever getting in. 3. Strategic emotional shutdown. The firewall activates. When a Sigma male is betrayed, his emotional system doesn't spiral, it shuts down. Not in a way that signals defeat, but in a way that signals recalibration. It's like watching a high-security vault closing, precise, deliberate, and permanent. This emotional shutdown is not a tantrum. It's not coldness for the sake of coldness. It's survival. Sigmas are naturally introspective, so when betrayal hits, they don't react. They internalize, assess, and then lock down. This is known in psychology as affective numbing, and it's common among individuals who rely heavily on logic to process pain. But for the Sigma male, it's more than a coping tool. It's a protocol. Every feeling is analyzed. Every memory is scanned for weakness. He archives the past and places emotional blockades to prevent any further contamination. He's not avoiding emotion, he's placing it under surveillance. This phase also involves a cut in emotional supply. The warmth, attention, and depth he once offered now go dark. You may try to reconnect, but he'll feel unreachably distant. That's because his emotional bandwidth is now being redirected toward personal development and psychological rebuilding. He knows how dangerous it is to let betrayal linger, so he pulls the plug. Not on life, on the bond. The firewall goes up and access is denied, not temporarily, indefinitely. 4. Loyalty. Reprogrammed. Access becomes earned, not given. Before the betrayal, the Sigma gave loyalty like oxygen, naturally and without question. He saw loyalty as a reflection of his own character, not necessarily as something people had to prove they deserved. But after being hurt, that code changes permanently. Loyalty is no longer his default setting. It becomes encrypted, conditional, strategic. You don't get it by proximity anymore. You earn it through time, consistency, and action. He now watches patterns, not promises. He listens less to words and more to alignment. This isn't just emotional self-protection. It's a total reprogramming of how he relates to people. The Sigma begins to view trust like a limited asset. He invests it carefully, audits it frequently, and pulls it the moment returns begin to look shady. He'll still be kind, still respectful, but that inner circle? It's no longer open enrollment. It's closed, with layers of verification. And if you try to manipulate your way back in, the door is not just closed. It's removed entirely. This shift also has ripple effects. The Sigma becomes more mindful of his energy, more selective about his time, and more ruthless with boundaries. Not because he's bitter, but because he's learned that loyalty, once misused, must be fortified with discernment. 5. The productivity surge, turning pain into precision. Here's where it gets lethal. Once hurt, the Sigma male doesn't sulk. He builds. He takes all the emotional debris, the disappointment, the betrayal, and channels it into hyper-focused productivity. While others drown in emotions, he's already creating his next chapter. This isn't escapism. This is emotional alchemy, turning pain into motion, loss into laser focus. It's common to see a Sigma rise in his career, sculpt his body, master a new skill, or launch a new project in the aftermath of betrayal. Pain doesn't slow him down. It fuels his ascent. Psychologically, this is his way of regaining control. He can't undo what happened, but he can dominate what happens next. The Sigma uses every setback as a signal to tighten his game. His schedule becomes airtight. His goals become non-negotiable. This productivity spike is also a way of reclaiming self-worth. Betrayal can create internal doubt, and rather than letting that rot him from the inside, the Sigma male proves to himself, through action, that he's still in charge of his destiny. So while others may interpret his silence as sulking, they have no idea he's deep in the lab, building a version of himself no one will recognize, but everyone will notice. 6. Ghost Protocol. You're archived, not remembered. Once a Sigma male is betrayed, you're no longer a person in his life. You're a file. You're not hated. You're not loved. You're just archived. You no longer take up emotional real estate. You've been moved to the irrelevant folder permanently. This isn't petty. It's a deliberate psychological mechanism. Instead of wasting time on grudges, the Sigma strips you of emotional identity. Your name doesn't trigger anything anymore. There's no maybe one day or what if. There's just nothing. This process is part of what psychologists refer to as emotional detachment with cognitive closure. He doesn't just cut the connection, he closes the loop. You're categorized as a completed chapter, and there will be no sequel. He may still see you, hear about you, or even bump into you, but the emotional thread is severed. He doesn't revisit the betrayal or replay the conversations. He already downloaded the lessons. You're no longer needed for the plot. People often mistake this for coldness. It's not, it's clarity. When a Sigma archives you, it's not to punish you. It's to remove any lingering access to his mental space. You don't get to be a memory, you become metadata. 7. Social circle audit, cutting the rotten roots. A Sigma male doesn't just walk away from the person who hurt him. He walks through every connection tied to that betrayal. Friends, acquaintances, neutral bystanders. Everyone gets reviewed. And if you're a liability, you're cut. This is the social audit. It's cold. It's clean. It's surgical. He checks who stayed silent when the disrespect happened, who clapped behind closed doors, who benefited from the chaos. He doesn't act on impulse. He watches patterns, then acts with precision. He's not fueled by revenge. He's driven by clarity. Betrayal doesn't just reveal the betrayer. It reveals who allowed it, who ignored it, and who secretly enjoyed it. The Sigma collects this data quietly, then removes every non-aligned soul from his sphere. After this purge, the people left around him are bulletproof, loyal, clear, aligned. That's why the Sigma's circle is small, not because he's antisocial, but because his vetting process is brutal. This social cleanse also rejuvenates his energy. He's no longer leaking power trying to maintain fake connections. Everything becomes tighter, cleaner, quieter, but more powerful. And anyone watching from the outside will notice the room around him may have fewer people, but it echoes louder with purpose. 8. Silence as a signal. He speaks loudest by saying nothing. If you're waiting for a Sigma male to explain himself after being hurt, you'll wait forever. He doesn't do drama. He doesn't do long-winded closures. He does silence. And that silence is louder than any speech. For most people, silence is a void. For the Sigma, it's a weapon. His absence speaks. His lack of reaction is the message. And it drives manipulators crazy because they can't control what they can't engage. Psychologically, this is known as strategic silence, the use of intentional non-response to create psychological tension in others. The Sigma doesn't just vanish. He lets you feel the weight of his absence. No closure, no clue what he's thinking, just a wall of quiet resolve. People often interpret silence as weakness, but in the Sigma's case, it's dominance. While others talk, he observes. While others defend, he builds. He doesn't rush to correct rumors or clarify misinterpretations. He lets the silence do what truth always does, rise with time. And when the people who hurt him realize the full impact of losing him, they often find themselves haunted by that silence. It's not loud, but it echoes. 9. Emotional encryption. Feelings go behind a firewall. After betrayal, the Sigma male doesn't just move on. He rebuilds his emotional operating system. What used to be an open channel of empathy and connection now becomes locked behind an encrypted wall. Emotions are still there, but access to them, highly restricted. Think of it as a psychological firewall. Every new interaction is scanned, analyzed, and stress-tested before any feeling is invested. The Sigma now operates in low-exposure mode. He observes before he engages. He tests before he trusts. This isn't emotional coldness, it's emotional discipline. Before, he led with authenticity. Now, he leads with criteria. Vulnerability becomes earned, not given. You don't get to see his world unless you've proven you can be trusted with its codes. And this change isn't just reactive, it's permanent. He redefines what emotional safety looks like. He sets up non-negotiables. He studies body language, tone, consistency. If something feels off, he pulls back immediately. No second chances, no gray areas. From the outside, it may look like he's emotionally distant, but in reality, he's more emotionally aware than ever. He just doesn't outsource validation anymore. He doesn't gamble with connection. Every piece of himself is now given with caution, calculation, and consciousness. 10. Evolution mode. Hurt triggers. The highest upgrade. The most dangerous version of a Sigma male isn't the one you hurt, it's the one who learned from it. Betrayal doesn't destroy him, it evolves him. And when he enters evolution mode, he becomes untouchable. This isn't just about improvement, it's a total system upgrade. Physical, mental, emotional, financial. He retools his habits, reinvents his mindset, and repositions his path. Not to flex, not to prove, but to ensure that the old version of him, the one that tolerated disloyalty, never returns. You'll see him move differently. He's quieter but sharper. He doesn't just protect his peace, he weaponizes it. Everything he builds now is reinforced by what he learned. His energy is harder to access, his time more expensive, his presence more rare. This is what psychologists refer to as post-traumatic growth. But for the Sigma, it's something deeper. It's post-betrayal ascendancy. He's not just stronger, he's encrypted, bulletproof, focused like a sniper. The people who hurt him, they won't get revenge. They won't get closure. They'll just watch from a distance as he becomes someone their presence no longer fits into. And that's the final blow they never saw coming. Ascenders, when you hurt a loyal Sigma, you don't break him, you activate him. You give him the data he needs to rebuild a stronger version of himself, one you'll never recognize and never reach. There are no second auditions, no comeback roles. Once you've shown him what betrayal looks like, he rewrites the entire script, and your name gets deleted from the cast. So if you're a Sigma watching this, or becoming one, know this: your silence has weight, your distance has power, and your evolution. That's your legacy. You don't owe the past a reply, you owe the future your precision. And if you're part of the Ascenders tribe, hit that subscribe button, not because it's trendy, but because you know we're building differently here, quieter, sharper, and always upward. Until next time, stay hidden when necessary, speak only when it strikes, and never hand your loyalty to anything that doesn't match your frequency. This is Sigma Ascends. We don't chase attention, we command it through evolution.